Hey, Aaron, I heard that it went for like 12 hours the other day.
The other day, I think it was only 8.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I
So
miscounted. That's
yeah,
awesome. It was really good. I was so glad I ended up going. That was awesome.
cool. Yeah,
Thank
well,
you for hosting.
amazing that you made it at 4 a.m.
Definitely showing up. Now I'm curious about how many numbers we're on, so I'm checking Facebook. No, that was a terrible idea. 12 was on March 22nd. 14.
14?
14.
Well, welcome to Triple T, Talk Time with TJ, number 14. It is April 5th, 2022. And here we are for another session. I want to appreciate all you guys for showing up again, giving me a reason to do this. And got somebody on here that we don't get to see all the time. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm good. I ever since you came on the Australian chat, I kept putting. I had this in my diary. Got to come to the TJ thing, and each week just something would hit right on at this time. And so this is the first week where finally it's free and I could jump on. And the only thing that almost tricked me up was we just changed our daylight savings to, we went an hour ahead. And I was like, okay, I'm going to check. I'm going to make sure it starts at 11. So I messaged Elijah and I said, you know, is it in 30? Is it starting in 30 minutes? And he said yes. And I was like, okay, great. So
That's
he's not
awesome.
here, but I made it.
Good old daylight wasting time. I love the quote about it where once it was explained to an old Indian chief, and he looked at the guy and said, only white men would cut off 1 foot off of top of blanket and sew to bottom to make it longer.
Accurate.
And then you've got Arizona going, yeah, we're not going to play that game.
I think some states are trying to get rid of it, right?
Arizona, they don't do daylight savings. One state in the country that got it figured out.
Maybe the rest of us will catch up.
Hawaii doesn't do it either, but
I love
What's that?
Holly's fun facts.
Hawaii doesn't do it either. I know my daylight saving time refuge states.
Yeah, it's so cool when everybody's on the same time, and then daylight wasting time shows up, and then you got to go like, okay, who's the smart ones? Oh yeah, Arizona, Hawaii. Well, it's a start. Anyhow, for those of you just tuning in, and for those of you watching the recording, going, is this what this is? We talk about big political issues, huh? Yeah. No, not so much. We talk a little bit about a thing here, and sometimes we talk about hypnosis stuff. Sometimes we talk about NLP. Don't worry if you don't know what either one of those are. We don't care if you even don't know how to spell NLP. We're just glad to have you here. We're here to help each other out. Typically, we run for 2 hours. I will talk about things that have come up over the week. But this week it's going to be a little different. I'm going to take you to the half-hour mark. And then we've got a special guest that will be teaching some amazing stuff that even I can't teach. That's why I have people on here, because there are those that know me know that I'm a Rolodex of all sorts of crazy information. Lots of squirrels running around up there. But I just want to keep learning. That's why I bring people on that know things that I don't. And Aaron, where are you from again?
I'm from Wellington, New Zealand.
All over the place. That's what I'm talking about. I feel so blessed. I had a request, and of course, the person that requested it is not here yet, but had a request to go back and cover a little bit more on identity change. And one of the metaphors that I brought up was masks, and how we've been wearing multiple masks for basically our entire life. Ever since we were chillins and we wanted something, we knew that if we wore a certain mask, we could go up and ask mom if we could have something. And if that mask didn't work, then we would put a different mask on and we'd go ask dad. And then there was a mask for grandma. Then we got into school and had all sorts of masks developed for us. And so as we continue to have these different masks, different personalities, all the above, identity changes throughout life, it was interesting. One of the students in my class from a couple of weeks ago, I followed up and asked her how things were going, and she was concerned that she was a little scared that she wasn't, that when she took her mask off, she felt vulnerable. And I reframed it for her and I said, in my opinion, my honest opinion, we are never, ever without a mask. When you feel vulnerable, when you feel the truest you, that is the thinnest, most real mask that you're wearing at the time. And if you're scared about it being more vulnerable than some of the thick masks that we put on and some of the suffocating masks that we're forced to wear around certain people, typically some family members. If that really thin, vulnerable one, or thin, comfortable, lightweight one feels like you're wearing nothing, that's the one you should wear the most. And feel free to put a layer of Teflon on it so that if they try and sling something at you, it doesn't stick. But it's your mask. And if they don't like it because it has glitter and Elvis glasses and a mirror ball hanging up off the top of it so everybody can see your sparkling personality and how awesome you are, and put in a set of fangs so that they realize not to mess with you, it's your mask. And make that one as comfortable and breathable and flexible as you possibly can, so that you have the opportunity to be the youest you that you've ever been. I know it kind of sounds like a Dr. Seuss story, but it should be. At some point, and I always like to reference age 18. That magical age 18, where it's up to you. And I know some parents have troubles, cutting the umbilical cord. Oh, my baby. Or they pull the guilt trip. I made you. You better do what I say. What was that? I gave birth to you. Yeah, you did, Ma. And you know what? When I turned 18, I gave birth to me again. Love you. Appreciate all you did. But this is me now. And it doesn't mean that you have to go out and full out disrespect the parental units. But at some point, you have to become your own person. And along with that comes the responsibility of realizing that every decision that you make, every choice you make along the way now is yours. You can't blame your mom and dad. You can't blame where you grew up or your friends or the economy or the fact that, you know, you weren't as tall as the other person who was successful. You know, if you came out of a house with a bunch of siblings, doesn't even matter what your siblings are doing. This is your life. So what are you going to do with it? And that segues right into the other thing that I put on the Facebook announcement, was enjoying the journey. I had to share this amazing quote with one of my clients today, who we did some work, and the quote is, "The man who loves walking will go farther than the man who loves the destination. You have to love the journey. When you love the journey, the goals just happen. The milestones pop up much quicker." And I reframe that for another client as well, as two clients, two reframes, whichever one fits the best, take it and go with it. But if you have two people looking at a 5K run coming up in a year, and one is looking at it because they've just always wondered what it would be like to have that accomplishment. That is their goal. They are going to run that 5K. And the other one just loves to run and just thought, I love to run anyway. Why not do a 5K? Which one is going to have more fun, A, at the race, and B, after the race? Any input, ideas? What do you guys think? This is the crowd participation part.
The one who just loves to run.
What do you think the finish of the race will be like between the two? Potentially.
They might even be disappointed that it's over.
Yeah. I've seen it a few times where the person whose only focus is to be able to get that race on their belt will focus on how hard it is to run that far. 5K, oh my God, I made it like 3 and I was cramping and on. People do this? Are you kidding me? Oh my God, I thought I was oh. And the person who loves to run is, you know, the Forrest Gump. I just was running. And then there was 5K. They said I won. So I ran another one without stopping. Another way that I reframed it was one of my clients is they're at that point now where they have the luxury of time to travel. And so I've been advising them on a good road rig. So they bought but they wanted something classic, so they bought a classic Suburban and getting it tricked out and got a nice Airstream for it. And I said, now if you think about that quote, the person who loves to travel, if you're building your life, if you're building this machine to travel and see the whole United States or northern hemisphere, whatever's connected, are you going to build the machine a little bit different than if you just want it to be able to get to Arizona? And as such, that's where the difference between enjoying the journey versus enjoying the destination. You don't have to be in such a rush when you're on the road. If your intent is to travel the whole northern hemisphere, and all of a sudden you look up and the skies are starting to turn dark, you're like, well, let's find a place to park and, you know, get some shelter, and we'll let the storm go by. If you're focused on having to be at the destination, that's the people that you see that are having the accidents in the storm. They're so focused on the destination, they're just like, oh, got to do this, and I'm going to power through it, and oh, this sucks, and all the above. So again, make life about the full journey, the love of the journey, and your goals, your milestones are not the end part. They're the on the way parts. You don't have to lose momentum that way. You can keep rolling through and enjoying all that is inside of it. Any input, sahas, feedback? Hello? Come out of trance.
You're exactly right there, TJ. I think the problem is that people can't get themselves to enjoy because we're always focusing on the goal.
Exactly. And I found this also to be especially true with people that have weight loss challenges and fitness challenges. They start focusing on the scale. One of the first things I tell my weight loss clients: get rid of the scale. Tape it up, put it in a box, put it in the garage, so that when your body looks the way you envision it, then you can see what that weight is. But I can't tell you how many people have, you know, I'm trying to lose weight, and it's been and I've only lost 2 pounds. And I'm like, oh, you've only lost 2 pounds. Okay. How do your pants fit now? And they're like, well, my pants are really loose. I'm like, but 2 pounds and your pants are really loose. Could it be because this is 5 pounds of fat and this is 5 pounds of muscle? And if you'd sat there and focused on the scale, you would have been completely turned off. But when you want to start changing your body, start changing your diet, your exercise routine and stuff, and focus on the parts of your body that you want to change and make better, and find a reason to find a way to make that enjoyable. Those of you that are hopefully binge watching some of these recordings will recognize this from the weeks earlier, but it always impressed me about the story of the overweight, out of shape guy that decided that the best way for him to get the body that he wanted was to start going to the gym for 5 minutes. And he just wanted to walk in and build up the habit of enjoying being there. And he knew that if he showed up there and, got himself a personal trainer that was like, get over there and do 300 push-ups and then sit on this god-awful machine over here that we use for destroying your will. You got to sit on that for half an hour and then you're going to sit in the sweat machine over here. No, he knew that he would last about 3 days, if that. So instead, he just walked in for 5 minutes and looked around and then left. And all the gym rats are like, loser, whatever. Ah. And after a couple of days, he got to know the people that worked there. And then he asked, what's that machine over there do? And they explained it to him. You want to try it out? He goes, no, I'm just curious. And he'd leave. But pretty soon, the 5-minute visits turned into 10 minutes. Then they turned into 15. Then they turned into a half an hour. Then they turned into an hour. And he enjoyed showing up. He looked forward to showing up. He had to learn how to enjoy the journey before he got anywhere near the destination. So my challenge to you guys, if there's any challenge that you're dealing with, how can you find ways to enjoy the journey? Because time's going to pass whether you enjoy it or not. And if you go back to the idea of the RV, if you've got the entire northern hemisphere to tour, and you've got a great RV, which is your body, which is your life, where you're at right now, and how many miles and miles of road, even Australia and other places like that, there's plenty to see out there. And if you understand the seasons, including the seasons of your life, there are seasons in your life where you've got to buckle down, you got to work. You got seasons where it's going to be cold and it's going to be a little more challenging. But if you understand that, you can pick what part of the world you're going to drive through, how you're going to drive it, and how you're going to outfit your vehicle to make it through there. And like I say, if the dark clouds show up, pull over. Pull out a deck of cards and a bottle of your favorite beverage and enjoy some time with your passengers. You don't have to fight it through the rain. And that went quick. We're almost up with my first half hour, which means that I get the amazing privilege to introduce a dear friend of mine. Miss Holly Bigelow is going to do the honors and take over this meeting because my wife and I had made plans for this evening back in November before I knew that I was going to be doing Triple T. And she's been teaching certain stuff for quite a while, but always off on the side, and always kind of sheltered. And I was like, no, it's time for more than just a few people to find out what kind of talents lie under that still water. So I'm going to let her get started, and then I'm going to duck out. I appreciate all of you guys, especially the new ones showing up, and especially those that have been showing up every week, giving me a reason to sit down and do this and spill my head and share my squirrels and all the above. And if you are watching this recording, as you know, my YouTube channel is TSWB, or the TSWB.com is my website. Blah! This is why I'm going to have her take over, because it's been a long week. I need a vacation. My YouTube channel is TSWB Helps, and I'm offering free 30-minute consultations for anybody that has questions. If you want to just chit chat, or if you're at the point where you can't find Witch Doctor in the yellow pages and you want help with stuff, get a hold of me and we'll see what we can do. But enough about me. Miss Holly, let the people hear you, please.
Awesome. Thanks, TJ. See if I can live up to that introduction you just gave me. And I just want to say too, for everyone here, the same rules that always apply, still apply. Feel free to talk. Love to hear your input. So go ahead and jump in if you have anything you want to say. You may think I'm about to do mudras, but interestingly, as I was thinking about what to do, I had a bunch of things that were coming up, and everything TJ was just talking about segues right into what I'm doing. So today we're going to be talking, well, before we do that, my first challenge to everyone, and you may already be doing this, as we've been talking about who you want to become and enjoying the journey, I want each of you to think of at least one thing, and this includes those on YouTube as well, but especially those of you here live, at least one thing that you are working on that you want to accomplish. And more specifically, I want you to think of something that you want to celebrate with this group when you accomplish it. Because one of the things, so the thing that I was thinking about a lot is this concept of manifestation. And one of the things that I think is critical to enjoying the journey and to manifesting things in our lives is making sure that we take time to show gratitude and to celebrate our wins. And one of the things I'm going to throw out there too is it's also important to have a good tribe that will celebrate with us. You've probably noticed that there are people in your world that when you have a success, the first thing they do is they need to either compete with you or cut you down. That's when you know you have a tribe that is not worth keeping around you. Those are the people you need to have healthy boundaries with. But I'm hoping what we're creating here, this is a good tribe. This is the kind of tribe that wants to celebrate your wins. And so challenge one, come up with something that you want to celebrate here. And then challenge two, this might be a little bit hard for some of you, harder for some of us more than others. I'm also going to encourage you that when you have the win, you actually make the effort to speak up and share it with this group. Because, you might be thinking in your mind, oh, it's not that big a deal. But remember, when you share your wins, it encourages all of us to keep working on our wins. And it gives us a chance to be happy for you and to share in that, to celebrate that with you. So, and once again, if you don't come up with it immediately right here, if you want to change it, that's fine. You may change it a million times. You may come up with new things in this intervening week. But that's the first thing I want you to be thinking about. And now as we're going through this process, so some of the things, I thought I was going to write 1 page of notes. When I was thinking about this, it turned into 12 pages of notes. So we'll see what we end up getting to here. But the first thing I'm going to say, and once again, in my church, sometimes we'll say, this is the gospel according to Holly, so this is manifestation according to Holly. Take it or leave it. If it resonates with you, take it. And if there's something that speaks better to you, throw that bit out, put what you believe in. So the first thing I think that a lot of people, when they're getting into manifestation, they swing too far one way or another. So I believe that manifestation is made up of 2 parts. You've got what I call the energetic plane and the physical plane. Energetic plane is where we get ourselves right. We visualize it. This is where we might be working on, for those of you who've done Kuji, mudras, things like that. We're getting our energetics right. We're getting ourselves so that we're resonating in the right place. And that helps us get to the point that we're getting. And then you've got The physical plane. This is where we're doing day in and day out, the grunt work, what might be called the mundane, the physical work. And I think a lot of times when people hear the word manifestation, they think some people go only to the energetic plane. Oh, as long as I put it out there, that's all I need to do. My favorite story with this, you may have heard this story before. It's told in different ways, but I'll just tell it this way. Once upon a time, there was a preacher, and he was out on a fishing boat, and all of a sudden, a huge storm came. And this preacher was very faithful, had a close connection with God, and the storm threw him overboard, and he lost his ship. And he's out there floating in the ocean. And he says, a quick prayer to God, please save me. And then he says, I know God will provide. And a few minutes in, a canoe comes by and says, oh, we noticed that you've fallen into the water. Would you like a ride back to shore? And he says, no, thank you. I've got faith. God will provide. I'm good. A couple hours later, a big ship comes by, a big fishing boat. It says, we've noticed that you've fallen over. Would you like a ride? And of course, he says, no, I'm good. God will provide. And then, of course, finally, a search and rescue helicopter comes out, and they lower a big ladder down to him and say, hey, would you like to come up here? We'd like to save your life. And he says, no, God will provide. And as you could probably predict, he ultimately ends up drowning. And he was a good man, he's got a lot of faith. So he goes up to God and he says, what's the deal? You let me drown. I knew you were going to provide. And God says, well, I sent you 2 boats and a helicopter. What more did you want from me? And I think that's the perfect example when we get too focused on the energetic plane. Yes, it matters. But if we're not willing to take that action, if we're not willing to recognize all of those opportunities that come into our lives, we can't take it to the next step of manifestation. Now, of course, on the flip side, I think that sometimes we get so focused on, I've got to earn this, I've got to do the work. And as long as I do the work, I'm going to get the results. But the truth is that no matter what you're doing, if you don't get your energetics right, you could try and try and try, and you are never, ever going to get there. So for me, the first principle of manifestation is remember both parts and make sure you're doing both parts. So take care, TJ. Thank you so much for all of your input, and have a good evening. And as people come on, yes, hopefully they'll still see TJ's square.
And now I'm sitting here going, but I don't want to go. Rockstar here. Holy cow. All right. Obviously, you guys are in great hands tonight. Have a blast. And I will see you guys in 7.
Awesome. Thank you.
Agree wholeheartedly. Holly, amazing. I'm like on page 4.
Yes, and once
already.
again, please send your stuff. So the next rule of manifestation is we are always manifesting. Just like where everybody has to sell, everybody's always manifesting. You can manifest passively or you can manifest actively. But you know that quote, not to decide is to decide. I call it, I often refer to it as wild magic. If any of you have played D&D, this is the case where you don't even realize that you're sending out magic that you don't even realize, and it's going all over the place. When I look back in my history, there are a lot of, shall we say, less than positive things or crazy things that I manifested that I had no idea was coming from me. And so I think it's important when we're out there, say, oh, well, that's not important, or I'm not going to prioritize that. You're going to manifest something. So you can either actively choose what you want to manifest, or you can just let whatever you want to have manifest. Now, when we're talking about active versus passive manifesting, another point comes out. So you may have heard this, Dr. David Snyder likes to call these SRUs, self-regulating units. But whatever you want to call it, willpower, the amount of willpower we have, we cannot use willpower every minute of every single day. And I believe that also is part of our manifestation process. So when you are using willpower, you are actively manifesting. And when you're not using willpower, you're passively manifesting. So I believe that when we passively manifest, what will come out is a result of a combination of kind of our nature and our current state or current emotions. So if we are constantly working on ourselves, when we are using our active energy, if we're using it for better state control to become a better person, I believe that that will still allow us to be on track even when we're passively manifesting. But part of the problem is so you could focus on your work in the moment to get to your goal, or you could focus on becoming the person you need to be to get to your goal. And then when you take over, you'll just naturally get there. Once again, this is all my personal theories. Who knows how much they hold up? These seem to be true for me in my life, but if you're experiencing different things, like, please share with the group. We're all learning from each other. So this comes to another point. I couldn't come up with the good words to put this. I knew the principle before, but Dr. David Snyder is saying, in order to manifest, you need to become the person who is capable of having that thing. Now, I believe that is the definition of manifesting. Manifesting is the process of becoming the person that you are meant to be. That's step one. And then step two, once you become that person, being willing to take the rewards of becoming that person. Now, some of us will become that person, and all you have to do at that point is you have to ask for them and you have to accept them. So you may be already at a place in your life where you're already the person who deserves to have so many things, but because inside of you, you haven't decided that you deserve it yet. You're not asking for it and you're not accepting it. Or because you don't feel that you deserve it, you're not even looking for it. So getting back to kind of the concept of we're always manifesting, I do believe there's more than one way to manifest. The higher way to manifest is focusing on becoming the person who deserves to have it. Now, of course, if you're becoming a weak person, you're going to manifest the things that a weak person deserves to have. That is definitely part of it. But I will say, so I kind of have come up with what I believe to be the 4 ways of manifesting. And there might be more. These are just the ones that came up to me while I was brainstorming. So we've already talked about one. The first one is a passive manifestation, which I believe is a result of our nature and our state. Then the next one that we're not going to spend a lot of time on, but I think it's important to discuss it, is what I call the unethical manifestation method. And the unethical manifestation method, like I said, I think we need to discuss it. I call this the selling your soul method of manifestation. And it's basically any time that you are willing to violate the principles of manifestation or violate the principles of the universe in order to get your results. And this is also any time that you're willing to throw the people around you under the bus to get results. You don't care how you get there or who you become to get there. All you care about is the result. And what I believe from what I've seen, if you use this method, you will get results, but your success will likely come at the expense of others. And more importantly, you will ultimately pay a major price for your success. Now, the really cool thing about this is I think it's also important, I believe, from my experiences in manifesting, that because the punishment for using this method is so severe, there are built-in protections to stop you from accidentally manifesting this way. So if say there's a principle in the universe that you don't know about, like for instance, I think one of the top most important principles in the universe is respecting the free will of others. Never, ever, ever manifest something that's going to hurt the free will of somebody else. But let's say you don't know that principle. And so you go out and you say, I want to marry, John or Jane or whoever. Well, I think that if you come at it knowing you're not supposed to do that and, all sorts of backlash may come on you, but all that's going to happen if you don't know the rules is that the universe is just not going to give you the thing that you're trying to manifest. And it's just going to say, it's okay. You meant well. I appreciate the fact that you're engaging in manifestation because this is a good thing. So I'm not going to punish you for that, but we're not going to let that manifest. And then one day when you understand the principle that you were trying to violate, you'll understand why it didn't manifest. Now, something I've discovered, this is a little bit interesting with this, is because it's so important, and we'll get into this in a moment, but because it's so important for us to actively manifest and to learn the process of manifestation, from my experience, every once in a while, we will be allowed to manifest something that violates the principles of the universe, not in an unethical manner. And the reason for that is because the universe is saying, you know what, you did good enough, you meant well, it's not hurting anybody. We're going to let you get away with it this time. Because according to your understanding, you did the best you could, and you deserve the reward. The reason that's important to understand, though, is because, first of all, you may manifest something early on in your process, and it works really, really well for you. And then you learn a bunch more, and you grow as a person. Now you know the principle, and you try to go back and manifest using the same principles you used before, and you're not allowed to do it that way anymore because you know better. The other problem with it is you got away with manifesting it this way, right? But then you go tell your best friend, hey, look, I was able to manifest doing X, Y, and Z. And your friend does X, Y, and Z, but your friend actually knows the principle and isn't allowed to take that shortcut. And it doesn't work. So I think it's important, once again, go ahead and play with this. The universe wants, God's, universe, source, whatever you call it, wants us to play with this energy, wants us to learn it, wants us to experiment, to learn the principles involved. But if at any point you're not manifesting something, especially if you're trying to do something the way somebody else did it, know that it's okay to experiment and try a different way that's more appropriate to you. Because what worked for somebody else won't necessarily work for you. And even what worked for you a year ago may not work again for you today based on who you are. Another factor too with manifestation is to remember that we all have the right to manifest things for ourselves. But with all rights come responsibilities. Now, if you're coming at this from the right mindset, if you're saying, I just want to become the person I'm meant to be, the strongest version of myself that I can be, and I want to support the people around me and help them become the best they can, which I believe is most of the people who are in this group, if not everybody, that's the attitude you're bringing to it, you should be fine. But for example, if you are a multimillionaire, what you do with that money matters a lot more. And I personally believe you will be responsible for what you do with that money. Did you have a question or a comment, Aaron? I saw a hand.
I was waving to Rob, but he went like this.
Hey,
he
Rob,
went
how's
like
it going?
that right as I waved, so he didn't see.
Oh, no worries. Sounds good. So just for those who have joined, TJ has turned the time over to me. We're just talking about manifestation, and we're thinking of things to manifest. So, yeah. Oh, any other comments from anybody since I'm kind of at a pausing? Anything?
Just like smoke coming out of my pages here, Holly. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. No question yet. They're just sorting their way. Yeah. Awesome. Keep going.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
All right. Keep going then, I guess.
You're muted, Rob.
Oh, you're muted, Rob. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm right. I find Bengston cycling is the only way that manifests for me. I've tried many other different methods, but cycling, it all comes.
And thanks for bringing that up too. Yeah, because I haven't been really going over the process. So I will say I use 3 methods. Bengston is one of the most powerful that I can possibly use. Another method is the Kuji does have a point of manifestation energy that I like to mix in with that. And I'm sure at some point we'll go over those as well. And then the third thing that I always do, so I usually mix these together. So before I put anything on my manifestation list, I like to go through all of these principles of, am I doing it for the right reason? Am I, going for a journey that, am I going to enjoy this journey? Is it, all of those things. So I call it the law version of manifesting. And what I do is I have discovered that I can have this, because this is something I'm supposed to do and I'm supposed to learn this. Like I said, whether you call it source, the universe, God, whatever, I kind of imagine myself having a discussion with God and saying, this is something I'm looking at manifesting. And this is the way I'm looking at manifesting it. Is that what you want? And I'll get into some of the questions I ask in a bit here. to get it on that list. And then if it passes that list, so I do that as step 1, then step 2 is I put it on my Bankston image cycling list, because that is an incredibly powerful manifestation technique. But if I can at least make sure everything that goes on that list is great for me, then I feel even better about putting it on there.
I'm too selfish. I don't ask God.
And like I said, do whatever works for you best. And like if it's working for you, it's the way you're supposed to do it. So so that's the unethical. And the reason I mention the unethical is it's not because I'm encouraging anybody to use it, but you may look around and see people having success with it. And we're going to talk about all of these principles. Many of these principles are not about because they're needed to manifest, but because they're needed to manifest the right way. Because if you want to manifest in a way that you don't hurt yourself and you don't hurt anyone around you, then you need to manifest according to the principles. But if you don't care about that, and some people don't, there are ways to get results. And like I said too, I do believe that as long as you come at this with a proper intention, as long as it's not, I want to hurt other people, there are built-in protections. So know that you could dive into this and you can have fun and you can experiment and you're not going to hurt anybody. The universe doesn't stop us from hurting anybody, but it does have a place where you will get that warning, this is not a good idea, before it will let you do it. So feel free to experiment and feel like you're okay. So the second level of manifestation, I call it immature manifestation. And this is where we start. It comes from a good place, but we're just starting out with manifestation. And a lot of times when we first start out manifesting, we're doing it for the purpose of just having fun, for novelty, for having an experience. And none of this is bad per se, but it's not a, shall we say, deeper, more mature way of manifesting. Now, of course, like I said, I think one of the biggest things with this is you have to recognize that if you're in this immature manifestation, you may have times when you don't get results. And the reason is because you're coming up against a principle that maybe you don't know yet that you're trying to violate. And so it's going to protect you from it. And we'll get into some of the questions when we get to the next level, but it's totally fine to be in this place. And a lot of people never go beyond this. But a lot of times people who are manifesting here, it's there's a scripture in one of the many scriptures out there that says your purpose is to consume it upon your lusts, is the quote. In other words, this is not about deeper growth or anything meaningful. This is just, I'm going to manifest a beautiful meal tonight. It's going to be good for tonight, but it may not have any meaning beyond tonight.
Can you say that again? It consumes.
That your motivation for manifesting something is to consume it upon your lusts.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Which is a very old school way of speaking, obviously. But it's about my lusts of the flesh. It's not about anything more than that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So then, sorry, I got my notes, make sure I'm not missing something. So once again, you got passive, unethical, immature. But then the final method, I call it the method of manifesting because you are committing to become the person you are supposed to be. Or another way you could say it is, I am manifesting my golden path or my life mission or whatever you might call that. And so as we go into this one, I believe, I'll call it golden path for now. I believe that whenever you are on your golden path will automatically give you all of the resources that you need to fulfill that path. Now, of course, that's assuming that you're willing to commit to walk the path. And as we mentioned before, as long as you're willing to ask for the resources that you need, and as long as you are willing to accept those resources when they come. Now, if you're manifesting on this path, one of the principles is your golden path will never give you resources or success at the expense of another person. And actually, usually when it gives it to you, it's not just for you, it's to help other people too. The reason I mention that is because I think a lot of times the reason, once again, it comes down to that deservingness. Anytime that we feel we don't deserve it, well, maybe it's because we think, oh, if I take this money somebody else can't have it. If I take this energy or this client, that means somebody else can't have it. That's not the case. I mean, if you don't take it, it's possible somebody else will be given that. But if it's on your golden path, you are the best person to bring that to pass. You are the best person to make use of that money. You are the best person to make use of that car, that computer, that, you know, whatever it is that you are manifesting in your life, you are the best person to make the most use of it. And by choosing not to take it, you're not only hurting yourself, you're hurting the people that you could have helped if you'd had the proper resources to fulfill your golden path. And also as part of that, I mean, I guess that kind of explains it on that particular thing. So some of the questions that I will ask as I'm doing these manifestations. So first of all, are there things that you should be manifesting that would help you become all that you're supposed to be, and that would help the people around you become who they're supposed to be? But you are choosing not to manifest it because at some level you think you're being noble by not taking it, because you think you don't deserve it. And if any of those are coming up, how can you know that you do deserve it? By definition, if it's part of your golden path, you deserve it. And not only do you deserve it, you need it. So this isn't just taking some beautiful extra thing. Also, as part of this, it's important to point out that when we're on our golden path, we do need moments of enjoyment along that path. So some of those hedonistic desires we were talking about, it's all about balance. If you are manifesting something because it's going to help revive you, it's going to help give you that moment of relaxation so that you can recharge, that's a good thing. That's helping you, that's helping the people around you, and that's totally fine. When it becomes a problem is when you are manifesting things that are either trying to spare you from life lessons and growth, or when you're so focused on manifesting hedonistic thing after hedonistic thing after hedonistic thing that is distracting you from your golden path and maybe even numbing you so that you don't realize you're not on your golden path. So some of the questions that I like to ask myself, so this comes to before I put something on my list, the first question I ask is, do I have any competing goals? Or, well, am I manifesting away a life lesson? And there's a couple ways that could be. So one is, do I have competing goals on my manifestation list? So the example, this is kind of a cheesy example, but the example I would give for this is, if I decide I want to manifest losing weight, it's probably not the best way to phrase it, but I'll just say that for simplicity's sake. Then I put myself in, I'm just going to call it God for now, in God's position and say, how am I going to organize that for Holly? I know she struggles getting to the gym, but maybe the first thing I'll do is I'll start having her park far away from the store so that she could get that exercise, that extra exercise. That's a relatively painless way. That's a small change in her life that will help her lose the weight that she needs to lose. And then, so I'm manifesting better body, you know, losing the weight. And then I get to the store and I manifest a close parking space. Now I've just undid the very thing that was supposed to help me lose the weight. And I mean, it's very simplistic. I'm sure that God could find other ways to help me lose the weight and everything. But so the first question I want to know is, if I check in and say, oh, this is not a good thing for me to manifest, well, is it possible that I've got competing goals and that I'm trying to manifest some, I'm supposed to become the person who's capable of having that thing, but I'm trying to get rid of the very lesson that's going to help me become the person that I need to be to get that thing. And if that's the case, I need to sit down and decide, what are my real priorities? What really matters? Do I care more about this front parking space, or do I care more about losing the weight? And chances are I care more about losing the weight, something that's more meaningful, more long-term. But maybe I don't, you know, maybe that's too much. So then the other thing that I might be trying to manifest away, I call it manifesting the check engine light to go off. So I'm sure we've all heard that, you know, analogy of when you go in and you've got your check engine light on your car, you don't go in and then ask the mechanic to just turn the light off. It came on for a reason. It's trying to get your attention for a reason. You want to go in and have the actual engine fixed. Whatever it was that caused that light to come on, you want to have it fixed. Or the same thing would be talking about going to the doctors and getting them to shut down, turn off our symptom. If I have appendicitis and I go in and say I've got a ton of pain and they use drugs to just numb the pain, that's not doing me any good. There's a reason that pain's there. It's so that I can actually address the appendicitis. And a lot of times I think when we get into manifestation, so like I said, you've got the things that you've purposely brought on yourself because you said, oh, I want to maybe lose the weight, let's say. And so I'm going to have certain challenges come my way. So those are the ones that I've purposely brought on myself to become a new person. But sometimes there are problems I have that are in my blind spots. And I need someone or something to get my attention that something needs to be changed. And if I'm trying to use the manifestation technique to just get rid of the symptom, turn off the check engine light, I'm never, thanks, Rob. Have a good one. I'm never going to be able to get to the deeper thing that I need to change. So once again, the first question I always ask myself before I put something on my manifestation list, and for those who have joined a little bit late, I am teaching at the moment. TJ's turned the time over to me. And once again, if you have any comments at all, always welcome feedback. We're talking about manifestation right now. So, yeah. So the first question I always ask myself before I put something on my manifestation list is, am I manifesting away a life lesson? Now, the principle is there. It's important to ask. I may not know the answer to this. So this is where it becomes really important to check in with your intuition. And if you remember the 6 dynamics of an unconscious response, your unconscious mind always answers first. It always answers honestly. It always feels like you're making it up. You always feel the urge to edit it. It's never loud and it's never linear. I may have gotten those in the wrong order, but when you get that answer, you need to check in with your intuition. Is this healthy for me to put on my manifestation list? Is this something that is manifesting away a life lesson? And if I get the yes, this is the thing, you don't have to necessarily take it right off your list. At least in my experience, if it's manifesting away a life lesson, I'm usually given the opportunity to reorganize things and suggest myself, you know what? I want that close parking space and I want to lose weight. How about I suggest something I'm willing to do that's a compromise that will allow me to lose the weight and still get the front parking space? Or more commonly, what I'll say is, you know what? It's actually not about getting the front parking space. It's about, I don't want to be late. So now that I know the reason I'm not getting the front parking space is because it's to help me lose weight, how about I'll put it out there, hey, I'm always going to make it a priority to give myself a little extra time. But now I want you to use, God, source, whatever you're calling it. I want you to use your influence so that I can park far away and still be on time wherever I need to go. And one of the things I'll do is I'll stop even looking in the front, even if those are open. Now that I know it's a priority for me to park far away, the first place I'll look will be the farthest back end of the lot. And once I go there, great. And then, if I'll try to give myself enough time, but if traffic's bad, maybe you'll make it up for me and other things will go right. Maybe the line will be shorter, whatever the case may be. The thing that's really important is that I'm on time. Just one example, obviously there could be others. The other example that I give a lot is, if you want to manifest getting into a relationship with someone incredible, but you are, I won't swear since this is going on YouTube, but you're a jerk. Let's put it that way. You might need to you might be, by manifesting that, you're agreeing to become the person who's capable of having that. You might have a series of really difficult situations to teach you how to not be a jerk. And you might need to have your ego kicked down. That is not a fun process. And throughout the entire process, you are going to be tempted to try to manifest away every single challenge that comes your way. And if you're not constantly checking in, it could be a very difficult thing. So we are now at the 1 hour mark. So I'm going to give a chance for, once again, this is a chance for everybody to talk. Any comments, any input people want to put, personal experiences, things you want to work on?
I'm going to ask a question, Holly. How do you, and I don't know what religion anybody is or anything like that. So when you were raised thinking that wanting things makes you selfish and therefore you are a bad person, how do you handle that? How do you approach that?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to be like, oh.
So there are a couple parts to this. So I actually had a whole section, I'll pull up my notes here, that was just a discussion of selfishness.
Awesome.
So I'll start by saying, first of all, Bill Bankston says that when you are manifesting, you need to be completely selfish. Now he meant, I think there are some things that does mean. I think that part of the problem with selfishness is we all define selfishness differently. Another one that going into religion is, I think that a lot of people define humility differently, forgiveness differently. And if you have the proper definition, I think that we're fine. The problem is how we define the words. So selfish, as we were talking about unethical manifestation, selfish is when you're willing to throw other people under the bus to get what you want. And if that's the way you're defining selfishness, I 100% agree that it's, whether you want to call it sinful, evil, bad, whatever words work for you, I 100% agree that that's true. But here's the deal. When you are on the right path and you're fulfilling your golden path, choosing not to accept the things that you deserve is selfish. Because once again, if you accept it, if you reject it, nobody else gets it. These are the things that are meant for you. And choosing not to become the person you are supposed to be not only hurts you, it hurts the people around you. And that is an incredibly selfish thing to do. But I think the problem is we've taken that, selfish, that selfish meaning, and we've expanded it to say any time that you care about yourself, anytime you put yourself first, every time you have healthy boundaries, we're going to call that selfish. That is not what selfish is meant to be, the way I believe it, in honestly any of the religions that talk about being selfish. We've corrupted the meaning of the word.
Thank you.
Of course. Very, very good question.
I like that you said that the universe wants you to play, that they want you to be the way that you had worded it. The universe appreciates that you're manifesting. That was really, really awesome reframe.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they want to share? I mean, I could keep going if I need to, but it is your hour.
I've got some thoughts, and I don't know where they're going, but I'll let them loose. But before I do that, Holly, I've seen you a few times on these things. I haven't really heard you talk, but this is really good. You're really eloquent. You're educational. You're really good.
Awesome, thank you.
That
sounds like you're really good too. What was it, 8-hour session that you were doing?
Progressively worse as it gets closer to 8 hours. Sort of ties into what Lenora was just asking, but going back to the unethical idea, because David talks about principles of source, right? And he says that it's all-knowing, all-powerful, and eternal. And he adds in, and I'm pretty sure he says it's his own one, he adds in all-loving. And I think, I've never heard him say it, but I think he does that to make sure people do the right thing with it, or that they get the right lessons when they connect to source. But I think source doesn't really care. Source doesn't really have ethics. Ethics is a physical, plain, human construct. For example, if you had an idea of something you wanted and you asked every single person on the planet, should this happen? Everyone is going to have a different opinion, and therefore there's no opinion which is correct. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so this idea of ethics and what you can and can't use manifestation for and all that sort of thing, it's good that we're considering it, but I sort of don't think the universe really cares. And the other reason I say that is because as I started to play with connecting with source, because we were just talking about what you should put into your Bankston list. And I always had trouble with that because I was like, well, I can put a few things in here, but it's not like it's not like I really care whether I get this watch or this thing or whatever. And the more that I played with connecting to source, the more I was like, well, I don't care about any of this, because source doesn't care about a lump of metal shaped in a certain way. It doesn't care about whether I win the Super Bowl or not, or whether it doesn't. It's eternal. Like all of what we're happening and all of everything that's existing and happening to us is just a blink of an eye. It's like us looking at an ant and going, oh gee, I hope that ant gets that breadcrumb. Like we don't care. So I don't know. Again, I'm not saying we shouldn't consider ethics, because we should, but maybe in the construct of the universe, it doesn't really matter. And because you sort of set up a contradiction in the sense that you were like, the universe will protect against you doing unethical things, but if it thinks that you've got good intentions, then it might let you do it. And so why would it do that? It's either going to protect against something or it's not. And the other little bit might be that if we think about as above, so below, the fact that on a human plane we have a concept of ethics probably means that on other levels of vibration, that concept exists as well. But again, it probably doesn't really resemble what we have here. It's probably maybe just more something really simple, like a yin and yang of, if like a scales. If you empty this scale, then something has to fill it up again to keep the scales balanced, like a Star Wars keeping balance to the Force kind of thing. So not strictly ethics as such, but a karmic balance. And again, not probably karma in the way that we would talk about. So I don't know where that's going. And again, it sounds like I'm going, just be the Dark Jedi and have whatever you want. But I find this really fascinating to think about, when thinking about source and the properties and what those and all the elements can sort of teach us as we connect to them and meditate on them. So yeah, I've thought about it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, no, lots of great stuff there. I will say, when we're talking about source, like, first of all, it's weird how contradictions can often be true. I can't wrap my mortal mind around it sometimes. And I definitely think that there are a lot of things that, in the grand scheme of things, this is going to be another one of those contradictions, but they don't matter at all, and yet they're everything. So depending on which scale you're seeing it from. I will say, when I'm talking about the built-in protections, I think that source is protecting us from the blowback, the consequences, shall we say, of making the decisions unless we understand the consequences. So yeah, we might be allowed to violate the principles, but if we do it unknowingly, we're not going to get as big of a blowback for doing it. We might still get blowback. I'm not saying we won't get any consequences, but as far as the really big, life-altering, like you've cut your soul open kind of things, I will say too, it is kind of interesting because I think a lot of things that we think are a big deal here, especially if you believe in reincarnation, multiple lives, like things that seem like they're life and death here, like even if you die, like if you are reincarnated, and now we're getting into or if there is an afterlife or whatever your belief system may be, that death isn't maybe as important, but the fact that you're willing to take somebody's life is something. Or the thing I think that blows my mind is, if it is, the golden path still is very important. Whatever, it may only be important to us and maybe the people immediately around us, whatever the case may be, but it's very powerful. And when we're on it, we get Shen. So talking about enjoying the journey, thanks for bringing that up too. I was going to mention, if you want great ways to enjoy the journey, pick things that are on your golden path, and your Shen will make it possible for you to have a great time on that path. But also make sure that you're allowing yourself to feel the Shen, because, and if you don't know what Shen is, of course, Shen is when your spirit enters your body, when you're doing something that really lights you up, excites you. If you're putting stuff on your manifestation list, on your journey list, that doesn't light you up, either find a different way to put it on your list so that it does, or maybe find something different to put on your list. But yeah, I think a lot of what you just said, very insightful. A lot of, and like I said too, when we're talking about source, so many contradictions can be true simultaneously, and it's so hard to wrap the head around it. I will say, I don't think David came up with the all loving part. I think that it's when you go back to the words omnibenevolent, omnipotent, omniscient, omnibenevolent were considered to be the classic in classic Christianity, and maybe other traditions too. And then also all present. I can't remember what that one's called. Were considered to be the aspects of God. So the one that's usually left out is the all present one. But yes, on the one hand, I think it is. Well, and then also, is there more than one source? Maybe there's different levels of source as well when you get into the Kabbalion and all sorts of interesting things. So maybe the lower level God cares, but the higher level God doesn't care at all, or all sorts of interesting things.
Yes. It's source all the way down.
And then, as you know, some people say source is higher self is another name for it. So, you know, then that gets all sort of crazy too. So
and yeah, contradictions can totally exist because, you know, probably any problem that any of us have right now exists as a contradiction of a concept which in our heads, to our unconscious minds, makes perfect sense. But as soon as you put it on the microscope of logic, it completely falls apart, which is obviously how we solve our problems. So yeah, contradictions can happily exist in nature. Question based on what you just said, talking about golden path, how would you know if something that you were wanting is truly something that exists on your golden path or is useful for that versus just something you actually just want?
Really good question. Okay, so there's a couple pieces to that. First of all, as we were talking about, if you check in with your intuition, and this is a skill that is built, it's a muscle that is built. The more you check in with your intuition, the better you're able to hear it, the better you're able to identify it. Because just as you have that unconscious response, you also have all those conscious layers of conscious response above that you may misinterpret as your unconscious response. So you know that something's on that path when you check in with your intuition and you check with it. But I will say sometimes, at least in my experience, sometimes I'm expected to learn more and understand more. And so sometimes my intuition will say, you know what? I'm not going to tell you the answer. You go out there and do more research. You go out there doing more experimentation. And once you've done that, come back to me and tell me what you think the answer is, and I'll tell you if you got it right. Another thing that I guess I didn't mention on this one too is one of the principles of manifestation is sometimes failure is a requirement for success, because we have to learn the lessons of failure in order to keep and appreciate and understand what we have when we have the success. So the good example of that would be maybe if you want to start your own business, you may need a couple failed businesses under your belt before you could get your final successful business, because the failures you learn from the failed businesses, those lessons are so important for you to be able to have your successful business. And I was going to tie that together somehow, but my mind just lost it. But
you might be able to find it after I say this, because you're right, because I think as part of becoming the person who can have the thing you want to have, by definition means having the perceptual filters in place to be able to see, you know, what is there and to interpret it in the correct way. And so those lessons are how you construct those filters, and that you know that they're a thing and that they exist.
Absolutely. And I think it also becomes one of those things that it's like, this is kind of associated with it. I think my mind's going all over the place now. But you know, as you manifest something and you get it, maybe it's the wrong thing, and that's when you say, oh, you know what? Now that I'm looking back on when I checked in with my intuition, I kind of knew that wasn't really my intuition. That was just me really wanting it instead. Okay, next time I know. And the next time you do it and you fine tune that a little bit, and then you get it, and you're like, oh yes, this is exactly what I needed to have on my path. I think that one of the resources we do get is resource to mess up, resources to experiment. So we don't have to get it right every single time. Where one of the resources is, yeah, go out there and manifest a few of the wrong things, because you need to learn this process. You've got space for error.
God, this is an incredible conversation. I like how Aaron pointed out all that all of it matters, or I think you guys were both saying the same thing, that all of it matters and none of it matters. So then you could actually even entertain this is just for play, and then you also are learning this on another level. So that way, you know, it as you keep talking about it, I love that it makes your problems like, damn, I forgot that at the grocery store, so much smaller. Like it just feels like, sorry, it just feels so much more satisfying.
Hey, don't
and
apologize.
gratifying.
This is great. This is good.
It just feels so much more satisfying and gratifying, seeing it from different ways and hearing other people's input. So yay.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, Francine.
Yes, I was also thinking is that sometimes when you start manifesting and you're on the wrong path, it will very quickly, very quickly get you onto the golden path. It might just whack you. And yes, I was kind of on kind of the right direction as generally, but my golden path was here. And I was going that way when I got assaulted at work and ended up poof like that.
Oh wow!
So it kind of takes any way it can. So I think it's also maybe important to put gently.
Absolutely agree with that.
Gang ho, because I've done that twice. I put a new vehicle onto my Bankston, and 2 days later I had a car crash, and it totaled my car. So yeah, I'm very manifesting. So yeah, you have to be careful.
You do have to be careful. Yeah, so the stories that are popping into my head. This is the way I think it happens, is like when we kind of first get off our golden path, sometimes the universe comes up and taps us on the shoulder. And then when that doesn't work, it like, you know, grabs us and kind of shakes us a little bit. And then at some point it slaps us upside the head. And then if that doesn't work, like it just keeps getting louder and louder and escalating. But yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I think the better you get at it, things happen so much faster. And it's kind of interesting to see how you put something onto your Bankston technique and you manifest it and you see yourself, and then like within 48 hours your old car is gone. You get the money and you're like, whoa, I didn't expect it to go that fast. So yeah, if it's the right thing, it will happen very quickly. And for me it was the right thing because I had to take it all out and you know, like you said, ask all the questions and make sure it's conscious and it's also positive for everybody involved, because you don't want other people suffering for the mistakes you've done.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
Sorry, everybody.
We're going to have a rule about the word sorry. It's banned for everybody for a week. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. Now that you mentioned too about other people, that got me on another thought process too. So once again, I do believe the most important thing in life is the free will of others. Now that doesn't mean you can't manifest with others, but it does mean you need to check in with them and get permission first. So if you're saying, hey, the two of us are going to get together and we're going to manifest something that affects both of us, that's fine, as long as you're both in and you both have accepted the responsibility. But keep in mind, if you're manifesting for somebody else, that may involve becoming a person they're not ready to be yet. That may involve them taking on responsibility they're not ready to take on yet. And it's also possible you're trying to manifest away one of their life lessons. And this is something I've learned the hard way. I don't know if I'd use the word manifestation necessarily for it 100%, but one of the lessons I've learned is that if you've got somebody who's got a lesson they need to learn, and you come in and say, I'm going to help them out, I'm going to do whatever I need to do. So I learned this once with somebody who was having financial difficulties, and I said, okay, I'm worried about you being homeless. I'm going to pay your mortgage payment. And then I also learned this because I'm an accountant. Lots of people come to me to ask when they get in trouble with the IRS. I learned this helping somebody with their taxes. I look at it and I say, oh, I could fix your problem. I could dive in. And what I didn't realize is in both cases, these were people that were ignoring things that they needed to do in their lives. And so I dove in and tried to take the pressure off, take the pain into me. And what I didn't realize is there's a certain level of pain they need to be experiencing right now to get their attention. And so if I'm going to come in and take the pain off, all I do, I absorb that pain. So source, universe, whatever, pours more pain in to make the balance better. And so I did absolutely nothing. So for instance, the case where I paid the mortgage payment, now all of a sudden that took me to my limit. And they didn't learn, oh, I need to actually sit down and go over my finances and figure stuff out. And now we were both in financial trouble. And then the next month when they couldn't pay their mortgage, I couldn't bail them out. I'd lost my ability at that point. And so we had to take it a different way. And with the person who did the taxes, it's like, all you have to do is fill out this form. I'll fill it out for you. And that the number, all you have to do is show the number at the bottom is 0. You're fine, you're good. And so I finally forced my help on that, did it all, and said, all you have to do is, sign the form. They went in and talked to the IRS agent. And because they didn't handle it right, and because they were still coming from a place of like, they didn't want to do this, they screwed it up and got in trouble on some other tax issue. So it's one of those like, I've had to learn the hard way. If the lesson's supposed to be learned, if the lesson's supposed to be there, you can't take it away. I mean, there might be ways to do it, but I haven't found a good way to do it yet without but you can absorb some of that pain into you. Because the lesson that I needed to learn was how to have boundaries and say, so the analogy I like to use for this one is it's a silly story, but once upon a time, there was a girl that went into the gym and she saw all of these poor weightlifters having to lift so much weight. And so she walked over to each of them and said, oh, what are you doing? You're lifting 20 pounds. Oh, you have to do 20 reps? Here, let me do that for you. And she went in and did the weight. So person after person. And then of course, she, at the end of the day, was exhausted. She'd hurt her back. And she walked over and there was someone who was laying on the floor and gosh, what's that thing called? The machine that has like snacks in it had fallen on them. And because she hurt her back, she didn't have the strength to be able to lift that up. And so she had to wait until somebody else could get closer, even though she was the closest person that could have helped them out. And of course, at the end of the day, she was injured. She'd done too much, and none of the people she helped got their exercise for the day. And I think that, a lot of times we need to know when is it that we're going in to help somebody by lifting the bending machine off of them. And when are we interfering with their exercise and trying to do their reps for them? It's a very key learning how to help people around us. So total squirrel there, but brought that up for me.
But so valid, so true, because you can't lift the weight for somebody else if that's what they're supposed to be learning or doing, or it's like, I can't brush my teeth for you. So definitely.
Mm-hmm. Actually, getting back to the conversation we were having about selfish too. I think one of the things we need to learn too is, so if you're in a relationship and we're assuming it's a healthy relationship, nobody needs to learn anything, whatever. I ended up having this come up in a relationship once. It was a big deal. But if you have needs and I have needs and you have wants and I have wants, and some of those are high priority needs, some are low priorities, but let's just call them needs and wants for now. My wants should never trump your needs. It's okay if my needs trump your wants. So if I'm in a really need place and it's like, you know what, I was going to have fun watching this movie tonight, but I can tell that you're sick and you need me to go run and get some medication for you. That's totally fine. But for me to say, you know what, I am not going to go to the gym because you've had a tough day and you want to talk on the phone. That's when I'm letting your wants trump my needs, my need to take care of myself. So selfish is when you say, you know what, my wants trump your needs. But saying my needs trump your wants is not selfish. And my needs and your needs, you're gonna, if it's needs and needs, you take care of yours, I take care of mine. And if it's wants and wants, you got to use compromise. But yeah, in those situations, the situation that's selfish is when I make my wants trump your needs, like in my definition. So comments. I mean, I can keep going, but I want to give people a chance to talk. Getting great things here too, by the way. Thank you for your input.
Well, I love this. I've been thinking for a while to start a manifestation group here at the library. Well, I can't yet because I'm not vaccinated, and I'm working on it. Hopefully I'll get there. I have PTSD and medical PTSD, and I found things like that very, very difficult. I am getting better, and I'm working on it. Yeah, and I'm thinking to start a group, but like a physical group, not online. I'm not too sure how that's going to look like. But yeah, I'm sure. I'm on the golden path. So if it's right, it will work out somehow. I'll get the right skills and.
Absolutely, I love it. I will say this too. That you saying that also reminded me too that Lillian Bridges, a couple things that she used to say, great things. When you're on your golden path, and this will depend on where you're at, but some common things that will happen. Once you get on it and you know you're on it, you will usually get some kind of brick wall that looks like it's in front of you that you can't get through.
Yes.
But when you walk up to it and you push through it, if you prove that you're committed to that path, you'll always find out when you get to it, it's made of styrofoam. Now, the specifics of what that looks like, who knows? And then, of course, the other thing that often happens when you get on your golden path, not always, but often, is all of a sudden it's starting to go, I'm committed here. All of a sudden, a bunch of other things will try to tempt you off of it. You'll start getting all of these other wonderful opportunities. And it's like, wait, I was struggling in my job. I was really excited to quit it to go where I know I'm supposed to be. Oh, wait, now you're treating me right. Now you're offering me a raise. Now you're offering me all of these other places that I can go, which can be a cool experience. And you may get tempted off of it. That's okay. I don't think any of us stay on our golden path 100% of the time. That would be, and it takes experimentation. I mean, our golden path is very much, I'd say, probably even more like a plane than it is, walking along. Because, the plane, as they always say, if you're flying, say from Miami to LA, the plane is off track most of that trip. But as long as you're constantly making the little changes to get there, that's the important thing. You're still on track to your destination. Yes, Elijah.
Good morning.
Morning.
How you doing? I wanted to ask you something. When you were talking about wants and needs, it's not really about that because I kind of understood what you're saying, but it question came up in my mind. What if you want to need something? Like, something is really good for your health, for example, and so and it's obvious because it's like medically proven and scientifically proven and all this stuff, right? Like, say, like getting in shape, or that some kind of generic gym example, right? And so you want to need that so that you will get up off your butt and move, but then you're not feeling it, right? Like, how can you get excited about something that just doesn't excite you? And like, okay, I don't, sorry, my computer decided to switch off my video. I hit the space bar by accident. For me, it's about getting in shape, right? So this specific example, okay? Now, obviously, I want to get in shape. I don't want to be hospital ridden later in life and be on loads of medications and things like that, right? But and that makes sense. But I don't get that excitement that you're talking about when something's on your golden path, or that kind of natural like positivity. Like, when I'm teaching hypnosis or when I'm doing a session with someone, that excitement is there. It's always there, and I can't get enough, and I don't have it in me to say no to people who want help and things like that. But I don't have it in me to say yes when it's time to exercise either, right? Now, I can't believe for even 1 second that my golden path is to be unhealthy and die young, right? That just doesn't make sense to me. So, like, there's a disconnect there. So, do you have any thoughts or ideas about that kind of thing?
I definitely do, and I welcome anybody else's comments, of course, too. So first of all, I would say, I think that we might be a little bit too strict with the word need as well. I think there are, and this gets in deeper a little bit than where we were going, but I think there are higher level immediate needs, and then there are lower level needs. But anything that involves your health, especially your physical health, I think is a need. So first of all, feel free to say that is a need. So the only thing that should ever trump, and this once again is talking about other people, but if somebody says, you know, I need you to come do an emergency session with me, or I need you to talk or whatever, you have the right to take care of yourself. You have the duty to take care of yourself. That is a need. Now, if somebody says, I am going to die tomorrow if you don't rush me to the ER, that's a high level need trumping a low level need. That's okay. But if anybody else's want is trumping your desire to go to the gym, at that point, it's classified as a need. So I would say,
Yeah,
it's okay to call that a need. It is a need. It's not a want. It's a need.
But what I'm saying,
I mean,
is
that doesn't address the
okay.
whether
Sorry,
you're enjoying it fact. I do get that.
yeah.
But step one, I would say, swap that in your mind.
Okay.
So a couple questions. First of all, is there any part of your golden path that you believe you will end up missing out on if you are not able to go to the gym?
Of course.
So what is that?
I don't really want to say, but I know what they are.
Okay, you know in detail. How do you feel? The most important question is, how do you feel when you think of missing out on those things? Does it bother you?
Of course, yes.
On
A
a
lot.
scale of 1 to 10, how much does it bother you?
11.
11. Okay. So, okay, here's another question. Is there anything, as we were talking about earlier today, is there anything you can do to enjoy going to the gym? What would make going to the gym, or maybe it's not going to the gym, maybe it's exercising some other way. What kind of exercise, what about exercising could make it enjoyable so that you love the journey?
I really don't know.
Okay, what are some things that are on your golden path that you love?
I love hypnosis. I love helping people. I love becoming better at doing this kind of work.
Okay, what do you love about hypnosis?
It's so efficient, super, like, you know, you can do something in 20 minutes that other people take 20 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like the I was always a fan of magic when I was a kid, like close-up magic, card tricks and things like that. And I really enjoy, I never want to know, like, you know, these people that kind of spoil magic tricks on YouTube and stuff. I never watch those videos and how it's done because I don't want to know. I want the magic to stay alive, you know? And I think sometimes when you're able to help somebody resolve their problem and it happens on an unconscious level because it's unconscious and they're unaware of it, you get that kind of pop where they're amazed, just like when they see your magic, right? I find that very satisfying as well to lead people to a moment like that. That's one of the things I love a lot. And obviously, you know, the positivity and the gratitude that comes out of someone who got something that they want, that they thought was not fixable. Yeah, I really love that. I really love that.
Awesome. I know Lenora has something to say real fast, but let me just throw out, these are just possibilities. They may not be the right answer, but when you go to the gym, because I know you do this at work, do you make it a priority to use your hypnosis skills on at least a couple of people when you're there?
No, I haven't talked to anyone there really. Just, I think they're busy doing their thing and they don't really want to be bothered. You know, and I'm also like very, like, I'm out of place in the gym. Do you know what I mean? I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't even really want to know. I don't even really want to learn what to do. Do you know? I just kind of want to go home. In fact, the last time I went to a gym was probably 2017 or something. Do you know? So.
Is
I
it
feel out.
possible?
I feel out of place. I don't like the silence or the sound of the machinery and the kind of, there's a coldness to it, you know, because it's much more of an industrial sort of site rather than, it's not cozy at all, you know what I mean? And then there's the smell of sweat in the air and different people all doing their thing, and then no, I just don't like it.
So is it
And
possible the
and
gym is not the right place for you to be
that's
exercising?
before you even talk about exercising, right? So let's say we remove gym from the equation, we just talk about exercising, right? Even some things like going for a walk. I can start going for a walk and be really good at it for a couple of weeks, and I can build up time or distance over the couple of weeks and be really regular and stuff. But then at some point, I'm just gonna be like, I don't want to do it today. And if I miss that one day, that's it. It's over for another 6 months. It's over.
So let's drill down. What makes it so that you are successful the first couple of weeks?
I could just power through a couple of weeks without thinking, you know, I could willpower that, you know, I could do it through sheer determination. But once my it's not really a negative emotion, but like it is some kind of feeling that is like, I don't really like that. Once that kind of builds to a certain threshold, then I'm just not going to do it. And I'm like, well, I'm a grown man and nobody can make me do it, and I don't want to do it. And then, but then, you know, when you go see the doctor for your checkup and stuff, and oh, Mr. Shake, you're in serious trouble and you need to do this, you need to do that, otherwise I'm going to have to give you pills. And you don't want that either. So I don't know.
Got a lot of things going through my mind. I'm going to let them percolate for a minute, though. Lenora, did you want to chime in?
I applaud you all for your vulnerability. I adore you all, just so you know. One thing that really was challenging for me was I previously had more difficulties, and I had to reframe a lot of what it meant. So for me to exercise meant that I was fat, meant that I was overweight. This is what it implied. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and that is the theme that I carried with me. So I literally had to sit down and figure out, okay, if this is what it means, I had to clear what that meant and what that looked like and reframe what it meant for me. So that way I could willpower through too, just like you. And then I would work out and sit on my phone. And it obviously wasn't beneficial. I was doing all these other things that were not helpful for me by any means. So I would, you know, extrinsically, like, yeah, we can push through and we can do that. But intrinsically, what does it mean about you if you are this? And then do you want that? Do you want to fulfill that picture that you have? So like, if that's what it was implying, that's to me, then it meant that I was overweight, rather than saying, you know what, okay, I am, this is where I am. Where do I want to go? And really having to take that internally and maneuver through that. And I maneuvered in time. There was somebody who is talking like, oh, transformations can happen instantly. For me, moving that, it didn't happen over time. It happened over time. It did not happen in 3 seconds or in 20 minutes, but it happened, and it was able to evolve into a much better situation. Those are just my thoughts.
Thank you for your vulnerability and sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give a few of my some things that came up when you were talking. So first of all, it sounds like there's a lot associated with the gym itself.
Well, exercising, generally the gym is just a no-go.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So a few, and these are just a few examples of ways you could approach it. Maybe none of them will resonate with you. That's okay. But like, for instance, you enjoy helping other people. And I guarantee you're not the only one who has those kind of, I'm somebody who struggles with a lot of those feelings towards the gym. Would it be a better fit for you to start your own group of exercise for people like you and help them get into shape at the same time, and you're leading the exercise group? That could be an example. If you enjoy things like magic tricks, and you don't have to do this, this is just, you know, random stuff coming out of my mind, but would you enjoy going to the gym and doing kind of like a magic show while you're exercising, where, or maybe not even just a magic show, but like, you know, those jokes where people say that they bring in like mouthwash and they put like blue Gatorade in it and they drink out of it, or they get, you know, other, you know, playing lots of jokes on people. Something else I'm going to throw out there though, is it possible, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but is it possible there are people that need your help at the gym, that are being put into your life, that if you go there and you not only work out, but you break the ice with them and you do a little quick hypnosis session that they may not even know is happening on them, you could transform their life, but because you chose not to go, you weren't there for them.
Yes, but that's true of anywhere I go.
True.
Because there's nobody out there who doesn't have some sort of problem that hypnosis could help with. So, you know, you can meet a random person at the checkout in the supermarket while you're buying your groceries, and turns out that person needed help with something, and, you know, you get in the back of the cab and turns out the driver needs something, or that stuff happens to me all the time. So I don't see why. Like, I'm sure there will be people at the gym also who need help, but it's kind of true everywhere. So.
Okay, so what do you do instead of going to the gym? Are you out and about in public, or are you staying at home?
I stay at home. I sit in this very chair. I study a lot. And
so are you meeting different people? Because if you don't go to the gym, are you still meeting the same number of people in your day?
I meet a lot of people every day, given the job I have. You know, a few.
But you're going to meet them whether you go to the gym or not, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And is it possible that if this becomes a bigger issue for your golden path, for the universe, whatever is in control, is it possible that the people you most need?
Because if I'm not healthy, then I can't do the job as well as I could, right?
Well, that too. But I'm just saying, might your golden path start strategically putting the people who most need your help at the gym, so that your biggest payoff is at the gym?
I wouldn't know. Maybe I wouldn't know.
And once again, maybe the gym's not the right place for you.
You know,
maybe it's better for you to take a walk in the park, or maybe it's better for you to join a meetup.
Yeah, that kind of thing works for me better, but I still don't like. There's just no desire to it. You know, okay. There's no desire to do it.
So ask your subconscious mind. What's the first answer that comes up? Why is there no desire?
It's just not enjoyable.
Okay, it's not enjoyable. So ask your subconscious mind, are you doing the wrong things? Like, is it different things? Why is it not enjoyable? There's the question. Ask your subconscious mind, why is it not enjoyable?
Because I feel tired and fatigued and kind of, you know, but I don't see any result or feel any result. And so I understand, you know, that it's an exponential curve, right? And the first part is the real grind, and at some point your results are going to increase.
Get out of your head. Get out of your head. Go to your intuition. Listen to your subconscious mind. What is it feeling? What has it been screaming that it wants to have heard?
I don't know.
My suspicion is, and you know, if you want to do a session, of course, let me know if you'd like to go a little bit deeper. But my suspicion is there might be some limiting beliefs going on here that need to be cleared out first. So the big question that I would have, just kind of in principle, is it that you need to change your strategy because you're picking a you that's not aligned with your golden path, with what lights you up? Or is it that even when you're on your golden path, you have blocks that need to be cleared out that are stopping you from enjoying what you should be allowed to enjoy? Or is it a combination of the
My
two?
instinct says maybe the second one.
That's kind of what my
Because
instincts are
even
saying a
when
bit
it
too.
came to like my practice and stuff, right? I really enjoyed doing the work. I really enjoy performing. I really enjoy doing the sessions or doing the classes. I hate doing the admin stuff. I hate banking. I hate asking people for money. I hate doing the taxes. Do you know what I mean? Anything and everything that's the business side of things. I just want to do the performing, you know? And so it's possible that the same thing applies with the gym, that even though I don't know.
This is kind of.
I didn't mean to take up the whole all the time.
No, this is good. I'm assuming everybody's getting stuff out of it because we all deal with similar issues. Aaron, did you want to?
Oh, here we go. Hit me, Aaron.
It's so tempting to hit you, but we don't have enough time. Okay, now that I've got my hand and my claps off the screen, that was. This is a story I was going to share earlier, and this is a much better time. And I'm only a hypnotist, so this is only a story. But some of you will know that I've been working on improving my eyesight because I, for about 20 years, have worn glasses. For the most part now, I don't really wear them anymore. And that's been going on for about 3 years, doing that. And so when people say, oh, so what do you do? How long does it take? If when I tell them 3 years, they're like, 3 years, the heck with that. I'll just keep wearing my glasses, kind of thing. But I know that over the course of that 3 years, I've had hundreds or maybe thousands of moments of enjoyability where I get to go, oh, I just saw that a little bit clearer today. Or I wasn't able to see that street sign, but now I can. Or just for a moment, everything was perfectly clear, even before it went kind of back, and my muscles got tense again, and that kind of went away. So there's a big story about how I did it and what the path of that is, but that's sort of too complicated. But part of it was I started going for walks because I used to go for runs, but as part of this, to get in the distance vision, which is what you need to relax your eyes, look into the distance so you can sort of reset the tension in your eyes. So I go for walks. I go for about 5K walks every day. And I like to walk. Takes about an hour. And I sometimes like to be alone with my thoughts, but not that much. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? So I started listening to audiobooks. So now I go out and I either listen to a podcast or an audiobook, and I use that to fill the time. And the key part is this, Elijah, and I think the cheeky part of you will enjoy this part. There are days where I don't know if I'm going for a walk to improve my eyesight, or if I'm improving my eyesight so I can listen to a book, or if I'm listening to a book so I can go for a walk. So that's my story. Yeah, I hear that.
Yes. Also, Elijah, I haven't been able to exercise because of the brain injury for years, and I've tried yoga. I've tried a lot of things, and I haven't been able. However, I came across my therapist, my current therapist. He's helped me quite a lot recently. And he's doing some Qigong. And we went last night and I kind of enjoyed it. Not greatly, but a little bit. And I had no pain coming from the brain injury, or I had no panic attacks from the PTSD or anything like that. So it's the injury happened in 2016. It's the first time yesterday that I was actually able to do exercise without my head becoming an explosion and the anxiety taking over. So maybe it's not about the gym, maybe it's about finding alternate stuff that works for you. You know, it's not all exercises are, muscles and gym related. I'm definitely not a gym person. Yeah.
I am in full support of Francine. I hate the whole process of leaving the house, making sure I have everything, going to the gym. That I ended up just my very early like 2000s collection is like all DVDs of like workout ones, because that's all I had was a DVD player. And thankfully it's evolved over time, but it's evolved to my liking. So it doesn't have to be the gym, and it doesn't have to be what everybody else thinks it should be. Whatever, I mean, Aaron's story about going for a walk, I think that's fantastic. And I mean, he's getting so many benefits aside from being outside, improving his eyesight, listening to a book, having a moment to himself. Like the list goes on, and it gets literally more delicious the more I think about it. Like love it. So good.
Yeah, and also then if you look at, you like hypnosis, there's quite a few hypnosis audiobooks available, even free on YouTube.
A few, just a few.
And yeah, and if you want some more, I'm sure I can whip out some.
Thank you. Oh, you guys are awesome.
It's thank you for sharing that, Elijah, because the number one thing coming through to me right now is, yeah, just that idea of even when you're on your path, even when your shin's supposed to be there, if there's some kind of block, and I think the most common is deservingness, and knowing that we're worthy, that we're worth something, knowing that you are amazing and that you deserve to be healthy, and that if any person is judging you at all, screw them. Because, and that doesn't mean people won't judge you. I mean, I know every time I go to the gym, people are looking at me going, are you kidding? And when I work out for like 5 minutes and that's all I can do because I'm so out of shape sometimes, like the hardest part of going to the gym, somebody once told me, is putting on your gym shoes. Like, and it sounds ridiculous because we'll beat ourselves up. Well, it's just putting on your shoes. That shouldn't be hard. And, like that first 5 minutes is most important. As TJ was telling at the beginning, like the guy who got in shape, he didn't start by going to the gym to work out. He went to the gym to make connections. He kept going to the gym to say, what can I enjoy here that's something other than working out? But I think, yeah, a lot of this, Elijah, is you realizing how amazing you really are and being able to see yourself the way the rest of us see you.
I second that.
I realize I'm very wary of asking this question because we're coming to the end of the time. You said if someone's judging you, then what them? Something them? Forget
screw them. Which may not be the best language for YouTube, but whatever.
Okay, so at that moment, when you said that, if someone's judging you, so screw them, my brain said, what if that someone is me? Do I say screw me?
That part of you? Yeah, sure.
That's what happened when
that part of you is not all of you, is it?
It couldn't be.
So screw that part of you.
Because I don't even know all of me.
The
all of who I am or who I think I am still doesn't know how much more there is to me than there is.
Did you just overdo it yourself, Elijah?
I did. I totally. It's true though, isn't it? You wouldn't know. That's the thing. At the moment
you wouldn't know, would you, Elijah?
Well, you wouldn't know. At the moment you think you know, that's when you know you're wrong. Because you couldn't possibly know, could you?
So how much more wrong could you be to the extent that you can be right about things which will get you working out?
I could be much more wrong. I have been much more wrong. I really don't enjoy being wrong. I didn't.
What if that changed? What if you started enjoying being wrong because it meant that you were exploring, that you were stretching yourself? If you're never wrong, it means you're not taking risks and you're never stretching yourself.
I'd hate
there's
for
only
you,
really
Elijah.
there's only really one context in which I stretched myself, and that again is the hypnosis and the, you know.
And have you ever been wrong in hypnosis?
How many ways do I have to help this person solve the problem? You know, what would be the quickest way to do it? Or you know, I wonder if I could do it in only 3 questions, or I wonder if I could do it in only 6 questions, or, you know, I do stretch. Not stress. I don't stress myself. I stretch myself in that context, but pretty much only that context.
And does it ever go wrong in that context?
It is hard to say, because maybe you could argue, yes, it went wrong, but I didn't give up, and I didn't give up, and, you know, I tried again the next day, and so technically it didn't really go wrong because it wasn't over, you know.
So what if when you exercised, that was the same?
I would love it if that was the thing, but it's just not. That's the thing. That is the thing, that it's not that, or it's not somehow it hasn't mapped over yet, you know. Like, I understand what you're saying intellectually, but not on a visceral kind of autopilot level where I don't have to think about it, you know. That's the thing. Anyway, we really are close to the end of the time. I don't
Aaron, did you have something you wanted to say real fast? Or?
I do. He did, but Elijah keeps
I can see it.
He keeps throwing stuff out. But I love that yet that you just put in there, Elijah. But to jump back, because we were talking about screw that part, I understand the impetus for that, but I think in this case, Elijah actually needs to love that part. I think that would be more useful than saying screw you to it, and then apply that same process that he was just talking about.
I'm going to follow right with Aaron. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of parts. I feel like you probably have, Elijah. I don't know if you have, but there literally is a book called No Bad Parts, because the part is serving you. And what I've done is literally sat down and had a conversation with the part that was driving me batty, because pushing it away wasn't working. And for me, I had to bring it in, and sometimes I really have to bring a lot of people into the area, and we all need to have a lovely conversation with myself, and it just happens much. I have found it moved easier that way. So I second that, Aaron.
Yes, I will agree with Leonora. When I actually speak to my parts and love them and have the conversation with them, things move much faster.
Looks like I won't be getting much sleep tonight. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Some lovely food for thought there.
Thank you, Elijah, for being so vulnerable. And I know I learned a ton from that conversation. So thank you. And thank you, everyone, for your input as well. I learned from that as well.
Thank you for this, Holly. That's really been really interesting tonight. And thank you for being so.
Holly, which mudra was intuition?
Kai.
Was it Kai?
Mm-hmm.
This one?
That's Jin. Telepathy. Oh. Kai. So we used to do it this way, but I learned you're supposed to put your fingers in the webbing of the hand across. But yeah, I think you were the one that told me that, actually.
Okay. I might practice Kai a little bit after the call.
Awesome. Well, we are at the hour. Thank you so much for all of your input. I learned so much. It's been great. And once again, I want to hear about your successes and have the courage to know, yes, we want to hear it. So go ahead and tell us. You don't need to be invited to tell us. Tell us your successes as you're having them. We want to hear. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Holly.
And for those who are on YouTube, feel free to write your successes in the comments, or if we're still going live, feel free to join us live as well.
Subscribe to
yes.
TJ. He's awesome.
TJ's amazing.
Guys, thank you so much. Absolutely phenomenal.
Much. And I can only stop the recording and the live YouTube by ending the meeting. So it's streaming through TJ. So
Bye,
thank you
guys.
so much. Love you all.
Love you all.
And see you in 7.
See you.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you.